All right, we're live.
Yes, we are.
It's Friday.
So many of
What's
the
good, yo?
lives
What's good? Nice, a hot day here in Montreal. So we're looking all right.
It's been beautiful.
So we usually wait a sec till people come in. Maybe we'll even just crack this beer just before we get into it, so we don't even have to talk about it
since
during
our
the
guest
podcast.
has his beer,
Yes, exactly. We've got a great podcast tonight, guys. This couldn't be more timely. We could not get the beer for this podcast. We tried, but instead we
Quebec,
have.
can you do something for us?
Yeah,
here?
Quebec need to come through a bit more.
Like
right?
we went to the depths. Like where are they?
Twice. So I actually got this beer for my birthday 4 years ago from a mate here, and I figured since it's a stout, it would be perfect. This is actually from Glutenberg, so it's a gluten-free imperial stout, which is very interesting. So I haven't had it before. Only 8%.
I do want to say, actually, for those watching, I did a live with Facebook today.
Yes.
Which is pretty crazy. So, and it was on a topic that we've spoken about really often, which is diversity in business and diversity in marketing as well. So we'll leave a link in the description below to it.
Yeah, we should.
So people can check that out, because I know that's always content that people are very interested in, and I think it's obviously very important. You know how we feel about that. So it was really great to sit with Facebook and talk about that today. Very cool experience. So
it was on behalf of our agency.
Yeah, it was on behalf of our agency, not on the beer. So,
do you want to tell them how many... Sorry, I know I keep telling you to tell people how big
I had
the
a
page
very
is.
anxiety-inducing week because there were 12 million people on that page that I had to go live on.
Yes, it's
So
like 25k views I saw just before.
Yeah, I think it's something like that. So
Yeah.
pretty
So
far. So it has been. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, Steve, all the way from Brizzy. Welcome, sir.
So yes, I know that's a topic that everybody always likes to soak up more information on, which is fantastic. So we'll leave a link to that live in the description below for you. It was a really good chat. We spoke with another creative agency, and do you hear my feedback?
Yeah, turn it down. We'll tell them.
Okay. So yeah, we'll leave that in the description.
Yes, we'll put that in there. It's really good. Let me just take the picture of this beer so I don't have to do it while we're on the podcast. And then we're good to go. Okay. Would you be able to hold that beer up there? Do it real quick. Ready? Boom. All right. So,
cheers.
Yeah, how's the beer? It's good? Oh, yeah. That's cheers. Cheers. Nice. Can't even tell it's gluten-free. That's solid. All right. So, I guess we're ready to go. We might get the podcast going here. So, you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. What's good, y'all? This is Cee, Certified Brewhead, and welcome to episode 16 of Beer Not the Podcast, Adjunct Series, Quarantine Edition. I am here once again with my gorgeous partner and everything, Tiffany. Alexis, babe.
I am fantastic, and how are you?
Fantastic. Also, in addition.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Right,
that's wonderful.
It is another Friday. We are live on YouTube, and for those watching and for those listening, you missed out, fam. You missed out. Guys, we've got a really special podcast. So for the last 15 episodes, we've either had Tiff and I by ourselves, or we've had either friends in the industry or just breweries that we sort of know I happen to be talking to. Like, we weren't really proactively trying to sort of, like book people to talk to for the podcast. But tonight, this was something that I really, really wanted to do. It couldn't be more timely. You guys might have seen the Black is Beautiful international collaboration beers all over. If you're into beer, like, there's no way you don't know about it pretty much wherever you are. So we have the man behind all of that, Marcus Baskerville from Weathered Souls in San Antonio, Texas. Welcome, my man.
How are you guys doing this evening?
Fantastic. How are you?
Doing well. I can't complain.
I love it.
Too many people listen anyway, right?
Right. I appreciate you taking the time out, man. I know things must be pretty crazy for you guys with everything that's happening. I'm sure it's taking over your life right now.
Yeah, it's been pretty busy. Pretty much for the last month and a half, my life has been pretty much devoted to the initiative.
I can imagine. It's super crazy. First of all, congratulations on the whole thing. I mean, the success of it is insane. The uptake across the world and how many countries and how many states across the US is just wild. So, man, you guys must be pretty happy.
Yeah, 19 countries. That's just
19 countries. I didn't even know it was that much.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And every state, pretty much.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
Like, what state is missing?
It definitely wasn't what I expected off of the gate.
Yeah.
I think originally when I talked to my business partner about the initiative and what I was trying to do, it was going to be like maybe 200, 250 people involved. So it'd be well over 1,000, all 50 states, 19, 20 countries. I mean, it's completely insane.
It really is. I mean, I guess it shows it's an issue essentially, and we'll get to this in more detail. That is, obviously affects the entire world, but it started with something much more locally in the States, and to show that the whole world is behind it, as you've seen, I guess, with the protests that are everywhere, and then now the uptake on this beer in an industry that is overwhelmingly white is very promising, for at least on the surface. So, man, it's amazing. I'm excited to hear more about it. But before we get to that, maybe we should position you guys, because personally, I heard of you guys through our good friends Tio and Benny at Crowns and Hops. They had spoken of you guys. You know them, right? I think you guys are friends, or at least familiar with each other.
Yeah. Tio and Benny are the homies.
Yeah, good. So, like, we worked with them through our agency last year. They've been good friends for like 5 years, so they've always put us on game of who's doing what's in the States. You're drinking the Black is Beautiful beer, your one that you guys did now?
Yeah. No, so I'm actually drinking WeldWorks version of it.
Ooh, Colorado joint. Yes.
WeldWorks did with vanilla, Madagascar vanilla beans, and it's actually but it's pretty delicious.
Oh yeah.
Heavy dark roast, some dark chocolate, and then a nice mellow sweet vanilla on the back end. It's fantastic.
That is amazing.
It has a nice body. Yeah, still a nice lingering body to it. It's not thin or anything like that.
What's the ABV on that one?
Theirs ended up at 10.9, almost 11%.
Ooh.
Big love it. Are you going to get hold of most of them, do you think? Are breweries like sending them to you?
Yeah, so we've started to receive packages from breweries as far as their versions go. So I've been taking a couple home, leaving most of them at work, depending on how many they send.
Of course.
So we can do like a huge tasting at some point with the staff and try all of them as far as who ends up sending some.
Yeah.
So we'll wait about another month or so and see what other ones come in, and then we'll have a big staff get together and try all of them.
That'd be dangerous. Eh?
That is going to be a dangerous evening.
Yeah, I think we're already at about, maybe 12 to 15 different variations already. So should be interesting when, some rolling in.
Damn, that is so wild.
If there's over 1,000 out there, then that is going to be like, wow.
I hope you get all of them. Actually, just for the people, we just started as well. We are drinking because we couldn't get any of the Black is Beautiful beers. I think are still either going to be sold direct from breweries or they just haven't come out yet. So we tried. We're in Montreal, Quebec, so I think there's been a reasonably decent uptake here. But I think there might be ones that aren't in distro. So we've been a couple times this week to try and get them. But in honor of it all, we're drinking a stout. This is actually a local one, Glutenberg, gluten-free Imperial Stout. 8%. I've had it sitting on this for like 4 years. It's actually pretty good. Does not taste like doesn't have any barley in it.
Yeah,
malted
they
barley,
did really well.
Yeah,
kind of solid.
Good.
So let's get into your personal history, man. Let's hear about like how did you personally get into beer, and then how did that lead into the brewery coming about?
I got into beer out of pure competition.
Okay.
I'm a very competitive person in nature. I'm the middle child. So my brother actually started brewing first. He did like a Mr. Beer kit, and it came out horrible. And it was one of those things like, I could brew a better beer than you. And so I actually didn't brew on my own at first. We brewed a beer together, and it was tolerable, nothing crazy. It was like a Bell's Hot Slam clone. And then from there, did another beer that came out tolerable. In the course of that, I ended up taking a promotion with the company I was working for at the time and moved out here to San Antonio. As many know, San Antonio has some pretty bad drivers out here.
Okay.
So with the first 3 days of being here, I got in a car accident. Basically had my car totaled, and I took the insurance money and bought a Blitman homebrewing kit.
Hey, good investment.
And big one of the big research systems that they had. Spent a couple $1,000s on that, and decided that I was gonna spend the majority of my time since I was homebrewing. So I did that for about a year and a half. Was still making beer that was just pretty much tolerable. Then the thing that sparked motivation, I even almost stopped brewing at one time, and my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, she was like, you better keep brewing, you just spent all that money on that equipment, you better not give up, blah 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 blah. All right, we'll give it one more shot. So in the course of that, I was listening to the Brewing Network a lot. And they had a session with Annie Johnson, first Black home brewer of the year, first woman home brewer of the year, first American light lager winner of the year. And so listening to her, being that we were from the same city, you looked at craft beer at the time and there wasn't many Black representation. So to see a Black woman from the same city as you, it gave you some motivation, like, oh, I can do this shit too.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So basically took some notes from the things that she was saying that she was doing, and the next beer that I made was better than tolerable. It was actually pretty good.
Better than tolerable.
So I was like, okay, I think I can get a grasp on this. So started taking it a little bit more seriously, listening to a lot of podcasts, doing a lot of reading, experimenting a lot. At one point, I think I was brewing about 3 homebrews a month. Then when I got comfortable and confident in the beer that I was making, started entering a couple homebrew competitions, ended up winning a couple homebrew competitions, and then started bringing my beer to local breweries, like tap rooms, stuff like that, let them try it. And so this local brewery ended up letting me do a tap takeover. And the beer, ended up selling out.
Nice.
Sold better than most of the stuff that they had on tap.
Right.
So the brewery ended up offering me a job as an assistant brewer. So I took the position, so still had my full-time job, was working 40 plus hours as management for a bank, and then also working 30-ish to 30 plus hours at this brewery, just to learn and gain the experience.
Mm-hmm.
So did that for a year. In the course of working there for a year, I kind of learned what not to do and more so what to do, but also grew very unhappy with the fact that I couldn't experiment. I couldn't do my own beers. I would have ideas that, would benefit some of their beers, and we're just going to keep brewing this the way that we want to brew it. Blah, blah, blah. So even at one point, their highest rated beer to date was a beer that I secretly added a ton of ingredients. So they had like an ingredient list for secondary, and I ended up like quadrupling the amount of ingredients that they had specified. And to this day, I mean, that's 5 years later, 6 years, 5.5 years later, that's still their highest rated beer that they've ever had.
Interesting.
Anyway, grew unhappy, got into a huge argument with one of the owners at the time, and I was like, well, I'm either going to have to quit or this dude is going to have to catch some hands in the park. So I don't want to go to jail, so let me go ahead and just quit. So I quit, and me and my current business partner, he was an investor for the brewery that I was working for. And basically we used to go out to this local bar all the time, have a couple of beers, and we had became friends over the course of that year. And I had looked at him one day and I was like, Mike, when are we finna open a brewery? And he was like, I've been waiting for you to ask me that. Amazing. And we literally started working on Weathered Souls like 2 days later.
Goddamn. Wow. That is amazing. Where did the name come from, by the way?
So the name is an ode to his father and grandfather.
Is that like a story behind that, or it's just like
what is a weathered? What does that mean?
somebody that's weathered the storm, been
through some
through a
stuff.
lot. Yeah, exactly.
I like
Okay.
it. Okay. Dude, that's crazy. That's actually a sick story. So then,
Yeah.
where were you from originally, by the way?
I'm originally from Sacramento, California.
Sacramento.
Okay.
Okay. And Annie Johnson, the name rings a bell. Does she? When you mentioned her, it's like one of the first black women in beer. Did she have a brewery? Did she own it, but did she work for a brewery?
No, she's
No?
still a very avid home brewer. I think
Okay.
Annie lives in Seattle now.
Okay.
She was working for Pico Brew as one of their representatives.
Oh,
that's why
we know her. We
interviewed them.
We
so,
did
okay.
a thing
I
with
knew I knew her from
okay.
somewhere. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, because I was like, I'm
Yeah.
familiar. I just couldn't place it. Okay, sick.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so basically, you moved down there. You got the brewery going. When was that? So that was 5.5 years ago. Is that when you started the?
Yeah. So we opened the brewery November 2016.
Okay. And how long did it take you from the 2 days later after that conversation with Mike that you?
A little under a year and a half to open.
It's not bad.
It wasn't too bad.
Okay.
No, it wasn't too bad.
So it was like dead ass serious from the jump, like you didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like straight away. Okay. Did you continue to work at your full-time job for a while until you? Yep.
So I worked So I used to be a fraud manager for Citibank, dealing with check fraud investigation.
Right.
And yeah, so I did that up until a week after our grand opening. And after the grand opening, I was like, this is going to be a lot busier than what I assumed. So ended up quitting a week after the grand opening. Originally, I wasn't supposed to quit my normal job for another year, just because I wanted to save up some money and do some other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But
right.
it got way too busy, and even then, the brewery itself needed more attention from me. So went ahead and made that jump.
Okay. How did you manage juggling a full-time job in that year and a half and building a brewery, physically finding a location, choosing the equipment,
It was a lot. It was a lot for sure. Mike took a lot of the bluntness of the initial work to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also had another business partner at the time who's no longer involved with the brewery. But he did a lot of work from the opening process to help get things situated.
Okay, so it kind of took the pressure off you a little bit, knowing that. And I imagine it was from 5 to midnight. You were probably.
They focused on most of the opening stuff, and I got to remain focused on the beer.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So from the beginning, your role was more focused around brewing, and is it still to this day?
Yeah, you're the head brewer, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you.
Yeah, so I'm the head brewer.
Okay.
I think in the last 4.5 years, my hand has touched every beer in the brewery except for 3.
Wow.
Nice.
Okay, I was about to say the other way around.
Were you on vacation, or how did you miss the 3? Or did you say, fine, you get to do these?
So I gave at the time, my 2 brewers assistants the opportunity to brew a beer when I was out of town. Needless to say, we had to name that something else. And then I have a new brewer now that I hired actually a week before the pandemic started. And so he's been trying to get comfortable in his role, so he's done a couple of beers since then. Yeah.
Okay. So are you, I guess...
Especially now since I've been busy with this.
Yeah,
so
of course. Right. So it's probably
pretty much got so once the initiative started, he pretty much got an overnight promotion.
Right. All right. Now you're taking care. So would you? I guess typically I find that a lot of head brewers might end up being more, and particularly co-founder head brewers, end up being maybe more recipe designers at this point, and don't end up touching the brews. Is there any reason you've made sure that you are physically involved in the brewery?
I'm just a very hands-on person. I'm a very untrustworthy. I don't trust too many people with my product.
I respect that a lot.
Yeah.
So I mean, my new brewer, he's done a great job. So I'm leaning a little less on dealing with that. Like I said, he's done a couple of beers completely on his own. But even then, yes, the recipes are still mine. It's still my recipe formulation. But for me, it's just more so I want to make sure that the product is the way that I want it.
Mm-hmm.
So I know if my hands are on it, it's going to end up the way that I expect it to be for the most part.
Man,
Good
I
food.
respect
But
it.
for your house,
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, pre-pandemic, we were doing a lot of collaborations and stuff like that.
Mm.
So the original goal of hiring a brewer at the time was he was going to take over most of the production brewing, which would allow me to open up to do some of the more fun stuff that I had been doing at the time without having to still worry about production.
Right.
But then COVID happened, so we've had to make a few adjustments.
Of course, yeah, it's definitely been a big, I guess, game changer for everybody. But
Yeah.
like, I feel like the beer industry. Actually, that's probably a good question. Like, how did that affect you guys? I've heard a variety. Some breweries like were struggling, who have maybe have a less package focused business, and some
Mhm.
others have just pivoted and like, all right, it's just 100% packaging.
Yeah.
How
Some
did it-
places you can sell online easily, some you couldn't.
That's a good
There's so
question.
many different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can
Yeah.
you do that in Texas? I have no idea because every state and
Yeah,
every region is different.
So for COVID, for us, it shut down the tap room. Luckily, they did allow to-go options and delivery.
Okay. Like via UPS
so-
or via like USPS?
I don't know if either of you guys have heard about how Texas went. So
Oh, yeah, we heard.
decided to be one of the guinea pigs for reopening, and
Yes.
it was a horrible mistake.
Yeah.
So being said that, we basically had to close the second time. So first time, the local community was super supportive. We were selling a lot of to-go beer, selling out of releases in 30 seconds to 2 minutes,
Wow.
that type of stuff on the weekends. The second roll around has made things a little bit more difficult. I don't think everybody's as excited as they previously were because people were a little pissed off that they had to be locked in the house again.
They're exhausted.
So the second roll around, it's been a little bit slow,
Mhm.
but I mean, we've been fortunate enough to not have to lay off anybody, not have to take any pay cuts or anything like that.
It's great.
But hopefully we'll be able to sustain it, through with our new production model. So basically, we're going to go on like a 3-week cycle. Fill up tanks, have our mobile canning run come and can everything off, and then basically release, and then do the same thing. And then in between those supplemental weeks, do little small batch releases to help out. But we'll see how it goes. We're surviving, so I mean, we're doing better. We're doing better than some, which is fortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's Texas like? What's going on there now? Like, I know Florida's bad too. Are you guys just like
A shit show?
like shit show?
It's
Like,
bad.
what's your
It's like 600 new cases today, 500
Oh, gosh.
cases
Okay.
today.
Gotcha.
That type of thing. Yeah,
Okay.
it's been crazy here in San Antonio.
It makes sense what you're saying though. It's like people are probably fed up now. Like before, you're like, all right, like in the first round, everybody's like, okay, we're gonna do this thing for a few weeks, and like that's fine. And they're like, oh, we'll stock up, and it's quarantine. Like, okay, like this is funny. And I think now the second time around, of course, it makes sense that like people are just fed up now. They're probably exhausted, and they had a taste of like freedom.
Exactly.
And now, so your tap room was fully open, and did you guys get to that point, right? That like everything was back open and running? Is that what Texas got to?
We were at 75% capacity.
Oh wow!
Then I woke up Friday. Woke up Friday morning a few weeks ago, and then the governor closed everything down at noon that day. So we opened at 11 o'clock.
Oh my gosh!
Wow.
Wow.
That is wild.
Announced it at like 9 o'clock. Yeah, announced it at like 9 o'clock in the morning that day.
Jesus.
Okay, guys, sorry, your business. No
And
time
you're
around.
done.
You're done here. Like, you gotta shut it down.
Yeah.
Incredible.
What a nightmare.
Our state government has really fucked up this pandemic. It's been
like bad.
completely horrible how they've handled everything.
Yeah. I mean, like, I guess the consolation is it's not only y'all. Like, it's a bunch of other red
But
states.
then the whole part, what's crazy is, so they've closed breweries and bars, but restaurants with bars are still open. So restaurants here are still at 50% capacity. And so if they have bars available within, like seatings within their restaurants, people are still able to go inside, sit, drink, and do everything like that. So the big issue now is, okay, why are these restaurants that have open seating for drinking allowed to remain open, but breweries and bars have to close? So it's been a real headache dealing with that. It's looking at, who are you going to support and not support, and why aren't you supporting?
Yeah.
So a lot of people are pissed off at our governor right now dealing with that situation.
That is so interesting. That makes no sense at all. And I find that,
none at all.
Wouldn't it be more dangerous in a restaurant than it would be? Like a restaurant has way more people, you think, in the back than way more people. There's so many more touch points than someone serving you something in a glass and putting it down.
Yes.
So for that to be able to be open, and then that's very interesting.
Sense. And as well,
no sense.
Is it to do with food, serving food? Like, do you guys have a kitchen?
Yeah, so we had a kitchen. Well, we have a kitchen.
So then
you're a restaurant. Well, so we're 51%. So that's the difference. So if you're 51% alcohol and over, then you have to close. If you're 50% or less, then you can remain open.
That is so fucking arbitrary.
There's a brewery that's open here because they sell more food than beer. But if you sell more beer than food, then you had to close down.
Man, that is crazy. It's just arbitrary. It's just
it's absolutely insane.
Yeah. It feels more like they're invested somehow in restaurants or something, and that's the only reason why.
There's definitely something strange going on with these decisions.
Especially because people can get food from Uber Eats and stuff like that, so that's very interesting.
What difference does it make?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, damn. Well, I mean, look, I like that you've been able to push through and if you're selling out like that. And that's what I've heard a lot about from a lot of breweries who are moving to that online model that maybe you didn't have before because you didn't need to. Like the releases, I thought it'd be easier to get beers that were harder to get prior to COVID, and now anything with any little semblance of hype, it's gone. Same thing, a lot of breweries here, it's out of control, and I guess it's annoying as a consumer, but at the same token, we also own a business, so I'm also alright man, whatever keeps the doors open right now, if that's what's working and all the hype heads are just going and buying it mad quick, then more power to you, right? Whatever works. And then on top of that, you guys have the initiative that have sort of taken you to this whole other awareness space in craft beer worldwide, not even
worldwide,
not even just within the States. Just before we got to the other stuff, Bassam, so we got a couple of live comments from the YouTube. Bassam, shouts to Bassam, favorite part of the week. Are you saying it to you? Yes, okay, cool. I wanted to ask as well, something that obviously we are a diverse podcast, and having friends like Tio and Benny, leading diversity charge in craft beer. There's 20 breweries that are black owned, if I'm not mistaken, from what Tio told me last. Out of 7,500 to 8,000, is that accurate?
So I want to say there's over 8,000 breweries in the United States, and there's about 60 breweries that have some type of minority ownership. Okay,
so essentially, less than 1%.
Less than 1%.
Arguably.
Yes, it's literally less than 1%. I mean, to give you a comparison, so I'm in Texas, right?
Okay.
So Texas has close to 400 breweries. I'm the only black owner in the state.
Jesus. Okay. So I wanted to ask you as a black man who is an entrepreneur, starting a brewery is not an easy task for anybody. How has it been? Have you had any specific challenges that you could speak to? How have you felt welcomed into the industry? How has the experience been for you in such a white world?
So my experience has been a little different than some.
Okay.
I know individuals that have had very hard times getting in the industry, getting promotions in the industry. I've known consumers that have had issues, going to breweries, bars, different stuff like that, from the way they're perceived to how people present beer to them and different things like that. For me personally, I haven't had too many of those issues.
Good.
Off the gate for me, it was the Caucasian males that were supportive in me wanting to get into brewing, offered up opportunities for me to learn. Open to me texting them at any time, asking questions. The couple times that I've had negative experiences have been more so like our old business partner that was with the brewery, for instance, was a young white male, long beard, and everybody automatically assumed he was the head brewer. So anytime, somebody would come in, they'd want to speak to him, and oh, can I talk to the brewer? And it was like, this dude doesn't brew any beer here. So, we've had those types of experiences. I've had experiences from where it's been to come and this older white woman comes and she's trying to something. So when I open the door, I'm like, hi, how are you doing this morning? How can I help you? Can I speak to one of your owners or management, please? So it pissed me off instantly because, for one, I've already had to deal with it for a couple of months. The brewery had been open for a couple of months at that point. But then I guess that morning, I didn't have my coffee yet. It struck me. So I'm like, I had to tell her, I'm like, well, what makes you assume that I'm not the owner? Oh, I didn't mean to offend. Well, ma'am, you already offended me. So regardless of what you tried to do, there should have been no reason that you didn't assume that I was one of the owners or management because I'm in here working. So being said that, I'll let you know right now, I am the owner and I don't want any of your business. Shut the door.
Nice.
So we've had those I've had those type of experiences. I've had the experience to where I'm a very vocal, blunt spoken person. And so, I've said things in like groups and stuff that didn't take too well with certain individuals. But outside of that, like, I really haven't had too many issues getting in the industry. But I mean, you even look at to the way that our brewery was funded, it's not the typical situation you're out drinking with somebody and you're like, when we're going to open a brewery, and they're like, hey, let's get this started.
Yeah.
So, I'm not a good source in the sense of the representation of being mistreated in the brewing industry because I haven't really experienced it too much. But I can say 100% that I know individuals have had to go through that.
Right.
Are there barriers that people have told you about that that are people of color and like that they've said like this is the reason why? Because it's just such a insane, like Steve just commented, like that's a crazy out of whack figure.
Yeah, the 60 out of 8,000.
And it is,
insane.
and it's not to the fact that there are black people out there who don't love beer.
Multiple.
Like we know.
I mean, yeah, you look at it and there's multiple reasons as to why the brewing industry is so white driven. I mean, even if you go back to the 70s when these craft breweries were starting to open up, black people couldn't go get a small business loan. Like, it would have been impossible for us to go inside of a bank and be like, hey, I want to brew beer for a living. Give me some money and let me open a brewery.
Yeah.
They would have looked at us and would have been like, you're fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you look at stuff like that, to beer not being marketed or advertised to people of color. I mean, you look at any of the brewery settings of most breweries that post on social media, how often do you see them advertising to people of color? I couldn't tell you it happens too often. From that, and then that deters these individuals for wanting to go inside of these places because now they feel that it's not inclusive. They feel that they're not welcome. It's because that atmosphere has always been so white dominated that the majority assume that the brewing industry is not inclusive, but we know that it has, obviously, especially with this initiative, we know that it has the ability to actually be very inclusive.
Very true.
Right. Well, it's very cool that that you haven't experienced a lot of that stuff, but particularly, at least you're aware that it is happening.
Well, and I like that you identify those barriers because it does go back to the 70s. It's like what has been the option for people of color to get cash, to get loans. Yeah. And it's still hard now, even when you think about the grants that are surrounding COVID in the U.S.
Exactly.
The grants the stipulations around the grants become almost nearly impossible for a small black business owner to actually even benefit from it at all.
I mean, you look at like Crowns and Hops, for instance, right?
Yeah.
So I know but they went through almost 200 investors to get money for funding. And that brewery, is like right down the street from the new stadium in Crenshaw. Like, it literally should have been a no-brainer to open this location.
Yeah.
There's going to be so much money flowing through that brewery just based off of what they have going on that it should have been a no-brainer for whoever they spoke to offer up money. But even for them, and even with the social media backing that they have, with the promotional work that they've done, with the press that they have, with brew dogs behind them, like, it's still difficult for them. So again, I'm not a good source for actually type of issues, but again, I know people that have literally been through the ringer trying to get involved in the industry, and so I mean, it's very much prevalent.
Yeah.
I'm just fortunate and lucky enough to not have had to deal with it yet.
Yeah.
No, I mean, look, better to not, I guess, if most people are going through it, it's definitely fortunate that you haven't had to deal with that as much.
Yeah.
I want to just get the next beer.
Yeah, let me grab it.
It's the 12. It's the Sir John in the beer from the small fridge. It's
Sir John.
1201.
Oh, because Sir John did,
yes. So I guess then this is the perfect kind of segue. Have you got another one? You're going straight to the booze there. I like that.
I'll move to a little bit of bourbon now.
Hey, where else can you go from a 10.9% Imperial Stout, right? It's an obvious next step. So this is like the good segue. So the Black is Beautiful whole concept. Do you want to just describe how that came about, and then sort of how it grew into what it is now? Because it's insane, and it came out at the perfect time. So well executed.
So basically, how I ended up coming on this initiative was my disappointment in not participating in the protest.
Okay.
And originally, I mean, to be honest, I didn't have any real want to participate in the protest and it didn't actually, this point of it didn't hit me until today. I was actually having a conversation with somebody earlier today. And I was listening to Breonna Taylor's mom give her story on what occurred the night that her daughter was gunned down, and the process that the police ran her through that they basically ran her through to even find out what happened to her daughter. And I'm in the car going to work, and this conversation literally brought tears to my eyes. It was so sad dealing with how they did her like that. And as a black man that has two small girls of my own, like, it super resonated with me that something needs to be done. Like, this shit is nuts.
Yeah.
So I was trying to figure out a way that I could make a statement within myself, be proud of myself for doing so, without upsetting my 98% white customer base. So originally I was going to release the beer Black is Beautiful as a standalone beer, donate some of the proceeds, and this would be like my statement in the brewing industry for how I felt about the current situation going on. In the process of that, I was having a conversation over the weekend with Jeffrey Stuffings at Jester King, and we were texting about race relations, Trump, different little things like that, and I had sent him the label, and Jeff was like, I would understand, this is how his text went, I would understand if you don't want to, but I think you should turn this into a collaboration. And I was like, you know what, Jeff, that's a fantastic idea. Mm-hmm. So basically spent the next 24 hours formulating up a detailed mission statement. I couldn't sleep at all, just trying to figure out how I wanted to process this. So I ended up getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning, going to work, and writing out the initiative. I wrote the whole initiative in less than 24 hours.
Wow.
Contacted my label guy, was like, hey, Kevin, I want a label that showcases the different hues of black. I told him, I said, I gave him what the reason was for, and then I said, you know what, I'm not going to give you too much more detail out of that because I'm very usually detail-oriented, how I want my labels. But I was like, I'm not going to give you any more detail out of that. I want to see how woke you are. And so that's literally what I texted him. And, I mean, Kevin, I mean, you can look at the label, you know, Kevin did a great job with it, highlighting the different hues and colors of black and what they represent. So from there, presented it to my business partner the next morning. He was like, whenever you're ready to run it, or, you know, we went from there. Originally, I told him, you know, there was going to be maybe 200, 250 people. We would probably get involved within it based off of who we knew and where our brewery was kind of seated at the time. And, I mean, we surpassed that 200 breweries in 48 hours. Amazing. And then after that, I was like, all right, you know, it'll slow down at some point. We'll set the new goal at like 5. And then we hit 500 in a couple weeks, and I'm like, oh, well, okay, this is bigger than what I thought. All right, I'm gonna move it to 1,000, which I never even thought I would hit. I even told one of my best friends, Kyle at Eden Island Ales, I was like, man, I'm gonna go skydiving if we hit 1,000. He was like, no, you're gonna come. He was like, you're gonna come to Hawaii and we're gonna go swim with sharks because he knows I hate the ocean. So, you know, hitting 1,000 breweries was never in my mindset at all because I sure didn't agree to that.
So now are you gonna do it?
We're well past over 1,000 breweries involved. But dealing with the initiative itself, you know, the beer is only one aspect of it. The beer is to bring the message front, right? To spark that conversation. But the more important things about this initiative is, one, the communication and the communication and dialogue that is now created with breweries, with people that they would have normally never have seen within their breweries. 2, you're making the breweries allies for the communities now, for people of color, for black people that they would normally not be involved in. Yeah. So you have these breweries that are donating, you know, thousands of dollars to these entities that normally would not look at breweries as an ally to them or somebody that they can work with. And then the other thing is building the long-term goals. So we know that the brewing industry isn't inclusive at all, or it's inclusive, but we know that it's not very democratic. You know, there's not a lot of diversity here. It's the majority white male type of situation. So what we ask of these breweries is long-term goals. What are you going to do after the beer is released? What are you going to do after that money is donated? You know, is it going to fall down the wayside and that's it? You know, you're going to pat yourself on the back and say, oh, you know, I donated some money, but we know it goes greater and further than that. This is a situation that has been going on for hundreds of years, and it's a humanity issue at this point. Yeah. It pisses me off when people sit here and talk about, I don't want my politics in beer. Sir, this isn't a fucking politic issue at all. This doesn't have anything to do with politics. These are human beings that are being mistreated every fucking day. Oh, excuse my language.
No, you can cuss.
That we should be mistreated for. I've physically have felt the abuse of police power. You know, I've gone through those situations to where I've been racially profiled for having a nice vehicle. You know, my parents were fortunate enough to, you know, have money. So at one point we moved from the hood to the white neighborhood. And I used to get pulled over all the time in my nice Mustang for being in this white neighborhood and, you know, that type of situation. So all of that stuff resonates with you and it keeps a chip on your shoulder, to be honest. And so dealing with this initiative, it means so much because you look at this, and I don't think in history we've seen 1,000+ businesses. So not just breweries, but physical businesses move commerce to one cause, supporting social justice and equality, right? We've all gone through the civil rights movement. We've seen that in the 60s, but I can't say there was 1,000 businesses from one industry that devoted themselves to moving this cause. And that's what's been the most amazing thing about this initiative. You look at it, and especially to talk about the white industry, the brewing industry being so white dominated, and you look, and we're the first industry to go ahead and show that we can be inclusive and show the support of almost, 1,000 people behind this movement. And so, it's crazy, it's insane, and it's completely humbling that the brewing industry has driven the cause as far as it's really gotten.
Yeah.
Really, really cool, man. I love it. It particularly was one. It was cool because I always feel like if there's something that sort of started in the States, it's beer is very territorial, whether it's like city, states, or province, or country, right? So to see the Canadian breweries, and I guess this probably would have been the thing I would imagine that would have tripped you out, was like
Canada was the first country to participate outside of the U.S. Yeah.
Do you know who the first brewery was by chance? Not
off the top of my head.
Okay, so that made us proud because that, like I said, it's something that's important to us. We've always been focused on this issue as well, and it's something we've been talking about for years, and that wasn't really getting. I feel like there was a few key people, and everybody wasn't embracing it. I'm looking at Tiff found the Canadian. That's not bad. I feel like there should be more. There should
be way more technically than that. This is not Canada. This is Ontario.
It's Ontario only. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Ontario 25, Quebec
25,
Quebec 2.
Quebec is 2. Oh, that's why we couldn't get it.
Quebec, you really need to.
Quebec had the first brewery.
Really?
I want to say.
I wonder. Do you know if it was Bar Canada?
Probably Bar Canada. They were about it. The other one is this one, Sir John. This is the one we were looking for today. So this is one of their other stouts called 1201. Yeah. This is the best we could do to get it. So I think I actually think it's not out yet though.
Oh, okay.
But how did that feel when you saw that? Oh, first of all, cheers, bro. So you get the bourbon there.
Cheers.
Wow, this is solid. This is like 10 or 11% as well, I think.
Ooh, all right.
Coke, it's all in French. What does it say? Madagascar vanilla, cocoa nibs, maple syrup, and Sicilian pepper. Okay.
Nice.
Fire. How did it feel when you had the first that first Canadian brewery? Like, how did that? Did you like, oh shit, like this is not a game right now. This is about to be something that's much larger than I ever anticipated. Because I guess it was cool. It was out of Texas.
So I only have a few friends in the brewing industry. So, my homies at Claim to Stay, Turning Point, Genius, Jester King, Finback, Forager, there was one more brewery, Green Bench. Okay. Outside of those 8 breweries, I didn't contact anybody else.
Okay.
So everything was built organically. People tagging other breweries, involved that way. So to see breweries actually make those physical efforts to go ahead and involve, I can't say anything, but it's amazing. Like,
it's very cool. Just because, coming back to sort of what I mentioned earlier, the issue started from some stuff that happened in the States, and obviously, it's something that struck a chord across the world with everybody. When I saw protests, I'm from Australia, and I saw protests in Australia for George Floyd. I'm like, are you serious? That is wild right now. And it shows that people are tired of it everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's this American-specific problem that really isn't. It's sort of everywhere. So for us, we were just super proud. It was like cool that these Canadian breweries who, like you said, no one thinks about it. No one's marketing to anybody but, I guess, whoever the owners are, which are typically white male. And all the teams are all like everybody, and they're just marketing to them to see them to be like, yo, we need to be a part of this. It was very, like I said, promising and very like, all right, maybe more people get it than we thought.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, and I don't want this to come across as negative in any shape or form. With the other half one, the Altogether, which I imagine would be some form of an inspiration, knowing that that was quite successful a few months before you guys. It was a recipe that was designed to use ingredients that were sort of sitting around the brewery, stuff that they wouldn't have to go out of the way to get it, because it was for the pandemic. Now, when this came about, it was June, I imagine, right? Like a month and a half ago, so it sounds about right. And This specific beer is a little more hectic because it's a stout and or imperial stout. However, the brewery decides to go with it. It's a bit more specialty ingredients. The only I didn't hear a single everything is over like 100% positive. With the only criticism I saw, and I wanted to ask you specifically because I wanted you to address it because I have seen it being mentioned on social, and I thought it might be educational for people if hearing it from your mouth, was the ingredients that were required for this one were a little more intense, and I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, the more of the proceeds, it was like 100% of either the proceeds or profits went to the charities. And breweries, I saw one pushback where people were saying that, well, we don't have these sitting around. How do you expect us to have the money to do this in the middle of a pandemic when we're not all doing that well? So I did see multiple posts on social mentioning this, hey, if you need some help, talk to us. Do you want to maybe speak to that and why you made the decision for whatever percentage it is of proceeds to go to charity and how you've been helping breweries to get involved?
Yeah. So dealing with Other Half's initiative altogether, right? Dealing with the Resilience IPA, all of this was money that was filtered to help breweries specifically, right? So the Altogether initiative was basically brew a beer to put money back into your pocket and then filter money into the industry, the service industry. The Resilience was more so to one cause, supporting the fires. Dealing with this issue, we have 1,000 breweries involved. Dealing with the money, this is why we chose local. So now you have all of these breweries that are involving their funds locally, which is the most important thing. I didn't want it to go to one fund. I didn't want to have control over the money or choose who people donated money to. I wanted them to support their local communities. But overall, with the overall 100% of proceeds, that was actually something that Sam from Other Half suggested. Okay. And we had a conversation, and him and Other Half were fantastic. They offered up all their resources from the Altogether initiative. So that's why the website looks kind of similar to theirs. Stout Collective took over our WordPress website, and made it look nice. And, Craft Peak is working on an online store for us, so we don't end up having the issues that we had last time. But to get back on the track, there is a ton of vendors that are available that are offering free ingredients and discount ingredients and stuff like that. And then also, we know that COVID is going on. We know that there are some breweries that are struggling. This isn't something that needs to be completed tomorrow. We know that social injustice and equality aren't going anywhere anytime soon. So even if you were to brew this beer 6 months from now, 8 months to now, 2 years from now, you're still contributing to your local community, and you're still putting that message out there to get the word out there and to show your support. You're helping the cause of equality. You're helping the cause of inclusion, regardless of when you get the beer in. It's more of this initiative's not going anywhere. It's more of a get in when you fit in. Right. So, I've seen those complaints too. And for those people, I tell them, get signed up, see what vendors are offering free ingredients, discounted ingredients. I mean, just like, for instance, BSG was offering free hops. Wow. Proximity Vault was offering 4 bags of specialty grain for the batch. White Labs 25% off. American Canning is offering discounts on packaging. Pertainers offering discounts on packaging. There's multiple vendors that have involved themselves to make this more of a streamlined activity for these breweries, so we can see more participation. So dealing with the 100% of the proceeds, again, this is a humanity issue. This isn't an issue that's to help out your brewery. This isn't an issue to bring more money or commerce into your physical brewery, or to make you look good on a pedestal like, hey, I'm over here pandering and helping. This is to literally join a movement and build those funds and commerce for your local entities, and to start building a foundation that this country should have had hundreds of years ago.
Big facts. Thank you for answering that honestly, man. I think that's super key. Those are something I've wanted to ask you directly for a while now, just because I've heard that, and I was like, well, I'm sure that you would have a solid response to all of that. You figured this out, you thought this through. It's not something that you just threw out on a whim. So if there was a brewery who was considering getting involved, is there any sort of words you would say to them if someone's listening now and they're like, on the edge about it? Is there anything you'd say to them?
There shouldn't be anybody on the edge. Either you're in support of it or you're not.
Great
and
point.
If you're not in support of it, then I'm looking at you, right? And a lot of people are looking at you if you're not involved at this point. You have 1,000 breweries involved. People are going to start noticing those ones who aren't saying anything, who aren't involved. And that's not a pressure statement to get people to get involved. At the end of the day, people know where their hearts are. People know what they believe in. And if they believe in equality, they believe in inclusion, and if they believe in making this a better world for people of color, Black people, and minorities in general, then they're going to get their asses involved.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much all I can say about it.
Yeah, I love it. I've definitely seen the ones who have gone in, like our friends, like Town and things like that in Ontario, have dived in like head first.
Yeah.
They have like immediately like, yeah, we're doing it. And I hope, I imagine this might be something that you've spoken to about. I hope that, now I didn't realize it was one of the way that it worked when you were just saying before, if you can't afford it now, if things are a bit rough, then, towards the end of the year, if that works better, then jump in then. Do you think many breweries are going to make it a regular thing, like do it once every month or two? Or?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I know some breweries are already working on barrel-aged versions.
Nice.
I heard that, yeah.
So I'm hoping that this turns into a solid foundation and it continues. I mean, I plan on releasing it at least once a year at this point.
Okay.
We've actually had talks with some retailers recently that want to make it a big thing. So, I mean, we'll see what happens from it. But I'm hoping that it becomes a foundation and breweries ride this wave until we actually start seeing some physical change.
I love it. It could even be, now you mentioned that, with retails, if you partner and get a whole bunch of breweries, it could be like a Juneteenth release every year or something like that. Mm-hmm. That's just like, everybody gets around it to celebrate. And I mean, I would hope to see it more often because I'm sure breweries could, afford to do it a couple of times a year, particularly if vendors are doing that. Yeah. That is insanely cool, man. If they're giving all those discounts and free hops and free malt and all that type of stuff, I mean, that's exceptional. That's,
discounts on packaging, all of that. Yeah,
that's industry buy-in in a way that I didn't actually imagine would be happening. That's with that. There's really no excuse. You're right. There's no excuse.
Yeah,
you're in it or you're not.
Right. And we've even seen other industries start getting involved. So Jaeger. They partner with breweries like Stone, J. Wakefield. Yeah. Will be one of their 2021 partners. But they're donating up to $50,000 between all their partners.
Amazing.
Wow.
So you have other industries getting involved now. Uncle Nair's is going to be sending us a barrel.
Nice.
So the aged beer, the Black is Beautiful in, they wanted to get involved. Yeti contacted us about getting some Black is Beautiful product out there. There's been coffee companies that have contacted us. Let's see, glassware, numerous things outside of beer. And so to see these other industries want to start getting involved and wanting to start participating, that should streamline it for the rest of the breweries, but even other industries. This is something that can filter into other industries, other businesses to want to get involved. And I'm hoping that's kind of where it goes at this point.
That's amazing. I can see even like... when you were saying it earlier about retail, the first I was like, imagine like you mentioned coffee now, like a Black is Beautiful coffee roast or something.
Yeah.
That would do the same concept.
I could see like Black and Gold doing that.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Or even you mentioned the barrels. Like imagine if like a bourbon, just like a distiller, aged a small batch in one of like a stout barrel or something that had stout in it, and then released a small batch of that and did the same thing.
Cool.
We've reached out to a couple of distilleries recently to try to see if we can get some like small batch Black is Beautiful bottles out there. I have a really good friend out here named Brad who does a lot of facilitating for barrel picks. Texas has a good bourbon scene, so he does a lot of different barrel picks and stuff like that. So we've reached out to Heaven Hill and a couple other places, so we'll see what happens. Hopefully, they'll want to get involved.
I love
that. That's so cool.
Like you're turning it into an actual movement.
Yeah, it's a full movement.
I think it's actually cooler because if it goes beyond beer, there's something even more beautiful about that.
Mm-hmm.
pardon the pun, I guess, but like it's amazing. Like that is
Yeah.
just so cool that they would even want to, that other industries would be like, because it speaks to, like you said, it's not political, it's,
it's
human.
Yeah.
And if one group of people is being attacked, until that's fixed, we're all going to be attacked. It's going to come around eventually. So I think it's really, really important, and what this stands for is it's resonated with the world in a way, as we've all seen, in a way that's never happened before, and
then puts money in the local again.
Yeah, and
which I also love as well.
Yes, I've seen a lot of that. I've seen everybody really and researching. It's made breweries, like we've seen our friends, and they've hit me up like, "Yo, what do you think of this organization?" Because they know that we maybe know a little more about it, so they'll hit us up and they'll be like, "Yeah, what do you guys think of this? Is this?" I like
that you did know your rights. I thought that was very important too. And I don't know if you want to speak more to that, but like I think it's important that we're giving to Black Lives Matter, but know your right. Like that is the issue, a main issue that it looks like, or anything that surrounds legal. I think is super important as well.
Yeah, I mean, dealing with a lot of the legal issues, but then I felt like it kind of went full circle, especially with what happened with George Floyd. So this was the reason why Cap was kneeling in the first place.
Yes.
So yeah, I've kind of transitioned as far as how much money I want to donate to them. We started asking people to donate locally. And so I was like, I should probably choose somebody locally too. So we'll be donating some money to the 100 Black Men in San Antonio as well. They're an organization that really resonated with me as a youth. I was in a very similar program of like a Black mentorship program. Every Saturday I would go do my homework there. There'd be older Black males who help with mentorship, keep you out of trouble. Said the N-word, you had 10 push-ups, that type of stuff.
I love that.
So that's the type of thing that I grew up in as a youth, and so to see that happening in San Antonio and see some of the devotion that they're putting into the community and helping these young Black males, get further into business and economics, even working with high schools and stuff like that. It really resonated with me, and so actually a majority will be going to them, and then we'll be sending about 25% to the Know Your Rights camp.
And what's the name? 100 Black Men?
The 100 Black Men in San Antonio.
Okay.
But they have chapters all over. Yeah, they have chapters all over the United States.
Just so we'll put it in the link in the description.
Yeah, we can
as well.
put any of these links if it's helpful in the description as well once we drop.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that a lot. That's really cool. That's really a really intelligent way to disperse the money. I saw a lot of the folks out here. I don't think there's as many organizations up here. I know people were giving it to like Black Lives Matter Toronto, the Toronto chapter, and there's one called Black Health Canada that people were given to, but I'm not too sure about anywhere else. That one sounds cool.
I would say to people to look beyond Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, right? That's like one thing.
There's local entities and different things that money could be better used for than the actual business of Black Lives Matter.
Yes.
I would definitely suggest taking a step further and doing some research and trying to donate to entities, foundations, and charities that are going to benefit locally than the Black Lives Matter Foundation. It's just my personal opinion on that.
No, that makes a lot of sense. It's almost like investing more in the community-based programs that are more long-term thinking in a way and have more long-term effects. Then that makes sense.
There was that scam. Did you see there was a registered company called Black Lives Matter Foundation, which is not the Black Lives Matter movement, and they were just taking money and just running with it. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that.
They literally, I don't believe they didn't say. All I saw was they said it's like just an LLC that was not affiliated with the other Black Lives Matter movement, but they're just asking for it. They're registered as that, and they just taken the money and
That's
running.
crazy.
So definitely got to do your research about where your money is going.
Yeah.
Yep. 100%. So with this whole thing, I mean, I would argue. Tell me if you feel this way, but I feel like it's kind of put you guys on the map in a way that maybe you weren't before, because this has resonated and gone so far, because it's an idea and it's a sentiment that's beyond just a great beer. How do you feel this has impacted your brand and sort of what Weathered Souls is about, and Yeah, how do you feel?
It
What do you think?
definitely has put us in the public eye. So I think over the course of the last month and a half, we've had about 12,000 new followers on Instagram.
Damn.
A ton on Facebook. I've even had a lot, and I don't even post on Instagram. So I'm more of a Facebook guy.
I respect
but
that.
yeah, I mean, it's definitely put us more in the more at the public forefront, more in the public eye. I've had to stop talking shit online. So I don't know who's watching at this point. That type of thing. So I mean, it's been great, but at the end of the day, the overall message and initiative isn't about me or the brewery. We were just the catalyst to spark it. So of course, we obviously want to do well, especially during COVID. But I'm more so just happy that the initiative is taking off and people are taking it seriously and making the effort to be involved.
I love it. No, it's amazing, man. It's really
I
cool.
have even in other accounts seen just like travel and leisure or food and drink. I just saw you guys come up. It's just like other things. Like I'm not in the beer world. Like if I'm not even in a beer world, I've just seen this. Yeah. You guys come up, so it's just great. You're just touching everything.
Over the last month and a half, I think I've done at this point about 80 interviews and podcasts.
Wow.
Jeez,
is that? And that's I imagine
that must
a
be
little more than
exhausting.
usual.
Sorry.
Yeah,
a little more.
I mean, it's kind of now that it's been a month and a half in, it's slowed down. Now it's maybe like 2 a day. But when it first started out, it was like on the hour. Like,
oh my gosh.
Videos, yeah. Which is just good to get the word out of there.
Yeah.
So, hopefully, like I said, we don't want to lose momentum. There's 8,000 breweries in the United States, and we're only at 1,000. Mm-hmm. So, this movement actually says it means a lot. So, hopefully, we can continue to keep that momentum going, seeing more people get involved, more businesses and industries getting involved, and we see this thing blow up even more than it already has.
Yeah. I really hope it does too, man. It's incredible, and just the potential for what this is, after talking to you in more detail, is beyond anything I came into this chat imagining. It's insane. It's so dope.
Yeah.
We have a couple comments here. Bruce Morris, a good friend of ours, actually, Canadian living in Dallas. He said, "Can I buy some up in Dallas?" He said, "Tiffany, educate Marcus about social media."
He says he uses Facebook. He just doesn't want Instagram.
It's okay. That's all. So for people in Dallas, Marcus, how can people get Weathered Souls? Can they?
Yeah. So blackisbeautiful.beer website actually has all the breweries involved. So you can go to blackisbeautiful.beer, bring Texas, and it will show you all the breweries involved. But off the top of my head, I know Celestial did a version of it. Turning Point in Bedford is releasing their version this week. Those are some really good friends of mine. I'm really excited about their version. But yeah, that's off the top of my head. And then, website would definitely provide him with any more information as far as who's actually releasing the beer.
What about for your beer in general? Because it's funny, Bruce is actually coming up to Canada. He's bringing some Trader Joe's for us because we can't get back over the border. So, Bruce, if there's any Weathered Souls you can get, man, put them in the package. Can he buy Weathered Souls beer in Dallas, or is that something he have to come to San Antonio for?
So pre-pandemic, we were in Dallas, but we haven't delivered out there in months, especially with bars and stuff like that closed.
Okay.
So, I mean, if he drives through San Antonio on the way up, we'll make sure we set a 4-pack aside for you guys.
Oh,
Our next release for Black is Beautiful will be August 1st.
August 1st? Okay. Bruce, I'll talk to you about it after, Bruce. But so if you're driving through San Antonio, let us know. I'm not sure about the geography of where Dallas. We've been to Austin, we've been to Dallas, but I don't recall.
I only been to Dallas Airport. So
you went to the airport. We went to Austin. We went to South by, but where's is San Antonio south of Dallas or north? North, eh?
So you would have to, if you wanted to come to San Antonio from Dallas, you would have to drive through Austin. Austin is before San Antonio.
West or east?
You're asking me questions I don't know.
Yeah, San Antonio is
south of us. That's the wrong way.
Okay, south of you, so it's not
south of us. That's the other way.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
We'll just have to just keep staying on the ass of all the Canadians and the Quebecois to like get on this. You know, like 2 in Quebec is not okay, guys. I just want to point that out, especially because we kill stouts. So
yeah, Quebec is really good with stouts, and I'm really sort of shocked. There was one girl that we sort of know on social who was like tagging all the Quebec breweries and just being like, guys, what are you doing about this? Are you going to try and tag in all the breweries?
Which is great. I was like, yes, hold them accountable.
It's like, yell at them.
Yeah. But yeah, 2 out of that's dismal.
2 out of like I think there's a couple hundred, close to a couple hundred here. I mean that's not cool. I mean even 25 in Ontario, I think they have 250 beers. That's 10%.
Yeah, they could do better.
250 breweries, sorry. I really want to see more up in Canada. I think that like if this is now that I know that it's a longer term thing, I feel like there's even more value to it as opposed to like not to discredit that the other half thing went really well and I saw a huge uptake on that. I thought it was really cool. Because that was the focus at the time, and like you said, it was for breweries to kind of reinvest into the hospitality industry, but it was essentially more of a short-term concept to sort of like give people a boost in the meantime while shit was kind of rough. But this is a long-term thing, so even if they don't get it until later, it's cool. So it's not too late, guys, but like stop fucking around, really. Yeah,
or at least show your intention to get it done.
Yeah. I feel like it's going to... Quebec is an interesting place. It's. I feel like they're a little more disconnected from the rest of the world. But here in Montreal, Quebec is one thing, but Montreal... There's no excuse. Montreal is the most diverse. It's the second biggest city in Canada. It is quite diverse as far as, ethnically, culturally. So
and Canada's not without its problems. So
we aren't...
It's not like this is an American issue. As much as we talk about politics as well, like it's not politics. And it's not solely for the U.S. Like Canada has its problems too, so we can recognize that, and I think this speaks to everybody. So get your act together.
God damn it!
I'm looking at the mic because I'm talking to.
Looking at it. Like, making me hear it. What was the country that tripped you out the most when you saw that they joined in on the initiative?
I think the one that made me the most happy was Rwanda.
Oh, that's amazing!
Oh, is that the brewery that starts with K?
I think so.
Yes, because
just to see,
I know who they are.
For it to reach Africa, like that was definitely a highlight for me for sure.
That's amazing.
Oh, that's amazing.
Funny story. They were partially funded by a brewery called BAOS, just outside of Montreal, up halfway between here and Ottawa. They went there and helped them set it up, and I think they either partially funded or at least helped them guide. And I think they started. Pardon?
Vietnam is on here.
Vietnam? Oh, is it Dark Hearts or something?
Yeah, right. Vietnam, Japan, the Philippines.
Mixtape drinks. Okay.
I didn't even know.
Switzerland. I think there's a Switzerland brewery.
Damn.
That is so crazy.
Wales as well.
Yeah.
Hey, go to Vermont, VT, because we're there. We go to Vermont a lot because it's like 45 minutes to the border from here. We got Good Measure,
Fresh,
Lawson,
the Alchemist too.
Alchemist. No foam? Come on, man.
Foam. I'm surprised.
Burlington Beer Co. didn't do
Burlington Beer Co.'s not here, and then
look, I know Vermont's very white, but still.
No, it's still. Fun fact: Vermont is the second whitest place.
Did I say Victoria? That's in Victoria.
Or the first.
Go back. Is that VS? Go. Is that
Victoria?
Like a dollar bill? One in Australia. Mr. Banks didn't do it. I'm going to talk to my friend because that's where I'm from. So I'm going to talk. I got a couple friends out there that I know that are in beer, and he does fire stouts. I'm going to have a chat.
You have to have a conversation.
Like, dude, get the fuck on that.
But yeah, it's pretty. That's incredible.
Yeah, that's a cool list, man.
It's just such a it's so cool to see South Korea. Like,
South Korea is pretty crazy.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Even just thinking about them having craft beer is kind of wild.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Because when I think about these places, I'm like, you have craft beer, much less that you're actually committing to such an important issue on the other side of the world.
Is it New Brunswick? Strawway didn't do it?
So we have a lot of people to shame, but that's fine. That's good. Not shame. Sorry. I mean, speak to. Ask.
Yeah, let them know.
Just have questions to ask.
Let them know what's going on.
But this is incredible. 1,000 breweries, 50 states, 19 countries, like that.
Oh, so it is updated right now. Actually, it's funny because you told us that's exactly what you said just before.
Yeah, 1,017 breweries, 50 states. It's just incredible. So, yeah, it's so important what you're doing.
Yeah, man, I love it. What would be? What's the sort of ultimate goal now? Now that the goalposts continually are moving bigger and bigger and bigger, like, do you have any sort of like numbers or sort of like, if this happened, this would be amazing now, or is it kind of just like at this point everything's kind of being blown out the water?
Yeah, I'm more so. I'm just kind of see where things go at this point.
Okay.
I've stopped trying to set goals as far as where I see it goes. The passion of the project has definitely grown as it was originally initiated. So hopefully, we just kind of see it expand and continue to expand. I'm in the process of writing my first press release, just so we can start trying to get the message more out there and little things like that. But I just want to see it grow and people continue to get involved and continue to get the message out.
I love it. It's wicked, man. I love everything you do.
When are you swimming with the sharks again?
Yeah, so what's the date for the Hawaii? Are we waiting for COVID or what's the deal? Sharks are safe, right?
Me and the wife might take a trip out there eventually. I don't know about swimming with sharks, but I might put my feet in the water.
There you go. It's a start.
Baby steps, right? I don't know if I'd swim with sharks either. Kind of
definitely
pretty
definitely.
Maybe like the Hawaiian sharks are probably soft. I want to go to Australia and do it with the big bastards. That's crazy.
Amazing.
Yeah, out of control. Man, I really appreciate your time. This has been fantastic, bro. Thank you so much. This has really given us some really good insight onto everything you're doing. I've been looking forward to this for a while. We've been talking to your team on social, about doing this for probably a month now. So it was great just to hear it from your mouth directly how it all came about and what you're doing. It's super powerful, and just, much respect, and I love everything that this stands for. And it's really amazing to see an idea that just started from something like pure and authentic and just expand and catch on because it's exactly what it is and spread to that many countries. I mean, like, it's incredible. So, congratulations and much respect on that. And I just hope it keeps getting bigger and better.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Man, anytime. Can you please let the people know where they can find you online?
Yes, so Weathered Souls Brewing on Instagram, Weathered Souls Brewing Co. on Facebook. Me personally, if you want to follow my Instagram, it is...
you really don't use it.
I don't even know what my Instagram feed is. That just shows you how much I actually use it. I think it's Weathered Souls _ Marcus or something like that.
Let me check.
Either way, the main thing to focus on is following the hashtag, the blackisbeautiful.beer on Instagram. Make sure you're tagging your favorite breweries. Make sure, there you go. Make sure you're tagging your favorite breweries. Make sure, anybody that you see that's not involved, you're getting in their ass about it so we can get more people to get signed up and get that message out there.
I love it. Amazing. Just before we sign off on the podcast part, I want to grab a screenshot for the thumbnail for YouTube because when I do it afterwards, it has all crap in it. Oh yeah, good call. Good pick. So maybe hold up the can or something because the can is. I have. Can you hold maybe one of those? This is what we're doing. Do you want to move it closer to your face a little because we have like a split screen thing going on? There you go. Perfect. Ready?
Perfect.
Did that come out good? Is everyone looking pretty? There we go. Amazing. Marcus, hang on. Once I finish the podcast part, then we'll finish up the live, and then we'll finish up the Skype. So just stick around for a sec.
No
Matt, appreciate your time. Genuinely, thank you so much. Guys, thank you so much for watching and listening. If you enjoyed the episode, mate, smash a thumbs up, hit subscribe below, hit the notification bell so you know when the new drops. Follow us on social media at BAOS Podcast. Check out the long form audio so you can hear bloody legends like Marcus talk about craft beer. Mate, that is it. We'll see you in the next episode. Get in ya.
Cheers.
Boom. All right, that's the audio part. So the live, guys, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for everyone commenting. Appreciate it. If you, if you're talking to a brewery and they haven't done it,
ask them why.
Encourage them to do it. If they're worried about the finances, there's the vendor discounts. Like, I feel like there's
really no barriers. Really, it's just
at this point. I really don't think there is. I'm as soon as we're done, I'm gonna text my friend in Melbourne and ask him because he makes fire stouts and he's a good friend. So I'm gonna be like, bro, like the fuck. Like I'm actually quite surprised that he of all people is one in my whole state. Not cool.
Are you that surprised, really?
A little more because I feel like there were protests and people were wilding down there. So if there are protests, then why aren't the beer community behind it? That's all, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe I feel like it's lack of awareness, but this guy specifically pays attention, so I'm gonna talk to him. I'll let him know.
And
Steve,
everyone, if you want to know who to give your money to, just head over to blackisbeautiful.beer, and now you know who to start funding going forward, because that's what I've been doing. So
yep, exactly.
That's the easy way to know.
Steve,
Look at the messaging and look at who to support.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of good ones in Ontario.
There's a great one, so I'm
actually pretty happy with a lot of that.
I'm not like surprised to see this list. It's all people I expected to.
That one's quite good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes me happy.
Steve's saying great stuff as always. Steve, if you speak to any breweries in Brisbane, maybe give them a little nudge and just say, yo, why aren't you doing this? Like Revel and like Range and stuff like that. I hope they'll be doing that, bro. So let them know what's popping. Marcus, you're a legend, dude. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for hanging out with us. Guys, go follow him. Go buy the beer. Oh, what's Steve saying? He says you need to get Dollar Bill on the show. They're massive hip-hop heads. That's why they're probably doing it, potentially, but that's not enough. Just because you listen to hip-hop means you're paying attention to things that are black, which means you're making the Black is Beautiful beer. It's not enough, but I didn't know that. I've drank their beers before, and they're fire. I didn't know they were rap heads, because there's not that many in Melbourne in the beer scene. Yeah. So that is dope. Marcus, you're a champion. Appreciate you. Keep killing it, dude. We'll talk to you soon.
Cheers.
Cheers, man.